U.S. investigators recovered millions in cryptocurrency that Colonial Pipeline paid to hackers last month. This after the company suffered a ransomware attack on its systems that led to a gas shortage nationwide.
This has broad implications of how the government can intervene in cryptocurrency looking forward. As more and more people invest in Bitcoin and other forms of crypto, this will be an important indicator of the government's reach in a largely unregulated market, which could spell trouble for those deeply invested. Indeed, the whole use case of crypto, I thought, was if I go out and do crimes, that the government's not going to be able to take my money back.
Right.
I said, give me these unmarked crypto bills, and I check my wallet, and Colonial's got all of its crypto back.
Yeah, it got it back. I mean, that was the point, as you said, that you would be sort of untethered from the system, the legal system, and from the sort of national or international monetary system, and because you'll be in a new international monetary system. And what we see is that just doesn't really happen anymore. How do you do that without having some government oversight that comes in and spoils the party? I mean, it didn't take that long with Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, apparently you can't just create a massive financial and currency system that is completely separate of a power structure.
Right.
So it does raise the question of how much government involvement there is already. Like, where are they in these systems? What do they know? How did they figure this out? Were these hackers just sloppy? Mm-hmm. Or is this what hackers can expect? And if it is, the signal that the U.S. seems to be sending here is this, that look, if you come after critical infrastructure in the United States, whether it's a meatpacking monopoly or a pipeline or our energy grid or something else, that we're going to come and snatch back your crypto. So, if you want to scam, then you need to stick with the 92-year-old ladies who are going to give you their Social Security number and their bank account because you called 1,000 people and one of them was trusting enough to turn it over. Things that don't affect the ability of our society to continue to function.
Right, and this is sort of dealing with the adjustment process as our government is kind of reckoning with the advantages and the disadvantages of crypto. I mean, there are a lot of investors and a lot of people in this country who have done great because of crypto and who love the system. But then on the other side, even defenders of crypto have to acknowledge that it's clearly a double-edged sword. I mean, Peter Thiel has come out and said, listen, this is basically a tool. It's not just of the U.S. government. Thiel said it's a tool of China. And so as we're sort of reckoning with the consequences of this, anarchical system that was created really quickly and sort of exploded really quickly, you have to admit, there's two sides to this sword. There's the good, there's the bad. It does enable criminality on behalf of plain old criminals, on behalf of foreign governments. But on the other hand, there's a lot of good that comes out of crypto, and the government is now sort of feeling its way into, I guess, regulating the good and the bad. And I bet there are a lot of people who have invested who are now wondering what the hell they actually invested in, because I think we're going to see changes, obviously, inevitably, as this unfolds.
Right, and Biden saw that he was suffering some political ramifications from the fallout of these various hacks. And future presidents and future governments around the world, whether it's France, Germany, elsewhere, are going to realize that they're going to pay the price if something in the country gets hacked and people are upset. And so it does seem like this is a way of governments kind of pushing back and saying, no, you're not going to be able to get away with this. But I don't know if the hackers are going to be able to evolve their technology to a place where it will be safe enough for them to carry out these massive operations, or if it's going to push them back into more kind of mom and pop style hacks.
Right, and I love the sentiment behind Bitcoin. I really love the sentiment, but at the same time, I think opponents of Bitcoin are kind of crazy when they act as though this is a black and white issue. Like the people who hate crypto, I think they're acting like this is way too black and white, this is way too clear cut. On the other hand, I also think a lot of people, regular people who have invested in crypto, are starting to say, what am I actually invested in? What are the ramifications of me moving my money over here? Not just for me personally, but sort of the broader implications of this entire new system that sprung up, relatively quickly. And that's kind of an interesting thing to, as someone who's not invested in crypto, take a back seat and kind of watch it play out, because there are obviously sort of very tangled variables in this situation.
Right, and some of these bigger hacks are run by what are effectively companies that have employees that operate out of office spaces. It's not a couple of hackers in somebody's basement. They very deliberately choose their targets and have different processes set up. They might even have HR departments, for all we know. And so, as the cost benefit calculus changes for those companies, you might see some change in behavior, and you're also going to see a community of Bitcoin investors and crypto investors who are like, look, you doing that is hurting my investment as well, because now you're bringing the heat down.
Right. And
when you bring the heat, it's going to push down the value of all of our holdings. So quit it. And so there will be some incentive for people to actually narc on people who are engaging in this kind of thing.
We talked earlier in the show, we put a graphic up from ProPublica that showed the true tax rate that several billionaires had paid. And Elon Musk was on there as paying, a higher true tax rate than like Jeff Bezos and some others, but he's still paying a true tax rate of like 3.27%. And it's interesting because it's going to be a fascinating fight to watch some of the defenders of Bitcoin clash with a government that might not categorically oppose Bitcoin, but at least wants some power to regulate it. And even some defenders of Bitcoin are wrapped up in their sort of system of corporate welfare and special interests. So there's just so many layers to this situation. But at the very least, there's going to be a very like fascinating clash between people on either side of this.
Yeah, and I wonder how it's going to play out for this ongoing process of normalization of it. Like, the last several months, really, you've seen it kind of ticking up. And becoming the kind of thing that now all of a sudden your cousin and your uncle and people who are not just deep denizens of the internet are starting to actually look at. And the question is that the traditional sign of a bubble, or is that the traditional sign of something moving from something in the fringes of society into the mainstream? What do you think? Right,
yeah, no, it seems like the sort of populism of crypto is eroding, and that's not to say it was always like a true populist system. I mean, we've seen it be a kind of truly have some of those like moments where it's been like, damn, this is really satisfying to watch, and it's really great for people who can have the sort of democratized access to currency. But at the same time, people like Elon Musk, I mean, they've been involved for a long time as well. So I do think the kind of populist appeal of crypto, at least superficially, I think that's eroding, and I think probably substantively it's going to erode as well as governments realize that, honestly, there are some national security questions to be raised when it comes to this massive system that now everybody's invested in. It sprung up really quickly. And so the clash between powerful people that like crypto and powerful people that don't like crypto is really one to watch.
Yeah. Sure is.
So tomorrow on Rising, Michael Starr Hopkins and Amy Tarkanian are here for the panel, plus the great Brianna Joy Gray returns.
And New York State Senator Robert Ortt, Matt Stoller, and Sam Hasselby will be with us. It's a full house. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. And we'll see you all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Can't wait for that lineup tomorrow.